Debbie Stephans. I'm from St. Louis, was raised like 15 minutes east of here, grew up in this area, went to school.
And I'm Ken Stephans. I'm originally from New York. Spent most of my life there, and then went into the service afterwards. We were blessed with the news that we were having at least 2, with a possible third that we would find out shortly after whether that was the case. Very excited, obviously for the day that they were going to be born. Apprehensive because we also knew that one of our children inside of her was going to have had an issue that was going to require fairly immediate medical procedures after, and that there was going to be a team that was going to be dedicated to the delivery just for that one child. We went in late afternoon for the delivery, and everything went just as the doctors and the teams had said it was going to go. So excited, they were put in the incubators and wheeled off, and it was that time to take Debbie to her, I don't know, whatever you call that, recovery room. And her gurney made it about halfway out the door when all of a sudden her body started to go into seizures on the table. And immediately the team that was wheeling around said, wheel her back, wheel her back. Shortly after coming around to that, the real basically blow that devastated me and the family was hearing the code blue announced over the speakers in the hospital for labor and delivery. And then I knew that this was bad. In light of the trauma, so what had happened ultimately was Debbie suffered what was called an amniotic fluid embolism. It's a fairly rare occurrence. They have very little data on it because it's so rare, but basically it's amniotic fluid going into the body instead of exiting it and going to the organs and causing basically all of her major organs to shut down almost instantaneously. But what happened afterwards, what we were blessed with afterwards, it's hard to give that up, thinking that there's a good chance that we would have never experienced what we got to afterwards in the way of relationships and what we got to see, the good in the world that we struggled to see beforehand. What really just, I guess you could say, blew us away was the amount of people that came to the call. We had a friend specifically, Karen Mullinoff and her husband Craig, that basically kicked into gear and organized a whole plan of how people would come to our aid, as far as knowing that we were going to be dealing with hospital issues, dealing with eventually having to bring the kids home but not know what was going to happen with her, have people bring food to our houses, help take care of things that needed to be taken care of around the house.
There were hundreds of people that came to help us, and I didn't know about any of it until like 6 months down the road, and they were still coming around the clock, even 6 months after the babies had been born. Out of those people, there's still many that came that we are still very close with.
But like Debbie said, the friendships that formed for the length of time. In fact, you talked about the baptism. The sponsor of our 3 children for this weekend is one of those that volunteered to help us, and that we formed she's basically family now, and we have others that we call family too as well that came out of that. So that's what I mean by, and just seeing that amount of good, it turned my life around to realize that, well, the news may not show it, but there is actually a lot of good out there, and there's a lot of people who will do good and do good things. So it certainly helped turn me around.
They gave up so much of their time to come help us for such a long time. I mean, I don't think there was anybody that didn't devote a full year of their life to coming at, every Wednesday from 9 to noon. It was just like clockwork.
And this was around the clock. I mean, we had people that were sleeping over our house to help us. We still have plenty of challenges ahead of us, just in the fact of raising the 4 kids, but Debbie still has illnesses that resulted as the result of that trauma that she went through. But what's incredible is when you form those relationships that you have, it's so much less scarier knowing that you've got that kind of support network that you feel very confident would come to your aid yet again.